get stuck on sad pages. Rainy days with no money. Hard work leads to days that are sunny. Looking back, it was all needed. The problems, the pain, the trauma, the grieving. You are now tuned in to the prisoner to painter. Prisoner to painter. Hard work, dedication. Rainy days, inspiration. Prisoner to painter. And now, a word from your local Pope dealer.
Tattoos all over his face. Yeah.
We're live.
Welcome to the Prisoner to Painter podcast. I'm Nathan McDermott.
And I am Katie McDermott.
And today with us, local business owner, entrepreneur, all around good guy, Mr. Phil Tripp.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on, boss.
My
I
pleasure.
really appreciate it. Here we just try to dive right on in instead of the small talk banter that most podcasts do.
Shoot.
So awesome. We're going to start right. Where would you say your story starts and what was growing up like for you?
Well, gosh, had a large family. I had 5 brothers, and I started working probably when I was 7 or 8, delivering newspapers, and I worked at a grocery store and gas station, and gosh, I worked my whole life really.
Awesome. So you've always had a strong work ethic.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, your strong work ethic has bled onto a lot of people that have worked for you.
I'm blessed.
Yeah, so am I by meeting you. Thank you again. What did your mom and dad do for work?
Well, my dad did numerous things, but he was a prison guard. A lot of my family were prison guards, but he worked at Aeroquip, which was aerospace, and then he did deburring, which was a specialized process that he would burn or deburr. When you make parts for fluid hoses and rockets and things like that. At home, he would clean the burrs off because you got to have them, and he was very good at it.
Pretty intelligent guy, then, just judging by the work he's done. Like he's very intelligent.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, you already said it, so you have about five siblings. Who was the most influential person in your childhood? And I'm going to ask it, who was your favorite sibling?
Oh, gosh. Favorite. My older brother, Chris, is a year older than me, and we're probably the closest. Mm-hmm. But yet my younger brother was born when I was 7, and I kind of half raised him, So, in fact, I remember one time arguing with my mom, she was saying, well, you did this. And I said, well, you let a 7-year-old raise him. So I just tried to do the best I could do. But he hung out with me forever.
That's cool. Did you have any pets growing up?
Oh, lots. Yeah, cats, dogs. We even, one time, we lived over by Northeast Junior High, and we raised mice for the pythons at school, and so yeah, we had a lot of different animals, but dogs.
I thought I knew you well. Well, I know you well, but I'm learning today that there's a lot more to learn about you. That's cool. What was your biggest fear as a child?
That's interesting. Fear. Kids have lots, but I remember I was probably 7 or 8, and so it was 1968 when the riots in Detroit. Mm-hmm. There were big issues in the schools. My brother helped cause some of them, and I was afraid of the riots, and they did make it to our doorsteps, and so it was a tough time, but it was all good.
Awesome.
So where were you born? Were you born in Jackson?
Yep. Mercy Hospital is what it was, which is Foot or whatever it is now.
Yeah.
Henry Ford Allegiance.
Yeah, it's made its way to that name.
Yep.
Wow. What did you always want to be? I don't know how to word this. So you're rich, successful. I'd say Jackson famous. What did you want to be when you were a child?
Oh, I guess like every kid, I thought I wanted to be a baseball player.
Okay.
But I don't know. Sports wasn't that important. As soon as I discovered girls, it was over. There was nothing more important than girls. So about 7th grade, that was my priority.
Gotcha.
School, hell with it. You know,
It sounds like that's a normal thing for young
Used to
guys.
be.
It really, yeah.
I don't know if it still is, but it used to be.
That's funny. What are you most grateful for from your childhood?
Oh, my father was tender towards me. You know, he had a hard time. They were young. My mom was 19 when she had me, and I was her fifth child. And so he made a lot of mistakes, but yet I was the fifth child, and my name was Philip after my dad. So I always thought I was special, more special than my brothers.
Yeah.
So somehow, didn't mean to make it sound bad, but I thought I was special to my dad and mom because they named me after him.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I met your dad, and he was very nice. So
Yeah,
he's
good
a very
man.
good guy. Yes,
Yeah.
he was. If you could go back in time, is there anything you would tell young Phil Tripp?
Well, everybody tried to tell me about education, but I had no interest whatsoever. They're going to want this someday. And I said, yeah, stick it in your ear. So I went into ninth grade with a 0.20 grade point average. I had 4 E's and a D because I didn't care. Just, Then in ninth grade, I started getting my life together a little bit, and I paid attention and got C's.
Okay.
I didn't do all my homework, but then I realized how easy it was to get a C for me. But I loved history. I loved. I had a teacher in 10th, 11th grade that was business law, and he impacted me a lot. I was very interested in business law.
Awesome. So it sounds like if it was something you were interested in, then you excelled at it.
Yeah, in fact, I had a counting class, and I told the teacher, I said, "You got me in the wrong class." She said, "Well, the only way you're getting out of here is if you flunk it." So, oh, okay. So she handed me a test. I put my name on it, hand it back. Well, then she made me stay, and I'm a numbers guy. Boy, would have been really cool if I had paid attention then, but I didn't, thinking I knew more than they did.
By your track record, you just might have, though.
Yeah.
You just might have. Who was your favorite teacher?
Well, his name, we called him the GOAT, and I'm trying to search Mr. Cowley.
Okay.
And he was a history teacher, and even young, I was a conservative. And he was very staunch Democrat, and I loved it. In fact, I made him cry one time because I brought pictures of the deer that I'd gotten, because I was hunting when I was young. But didn't mean to make him cry, but he was very sensitive. But I remember one day I kind of got into him when we were arguing about Reagan, and I said, "You tried to shove this liberal stuff down my throat and all of our throats, and he literally said, "Did I really?" And he absolutely was open for everybody's opinion. And so even though we didn't agree, my favorite teacher by far, because he would entertain both sides.
That is good. That's how a teacher should be, not so opinionated that nobody else has. Awesome.
A little bit of devil's advocate.
Yeah. And I was a bit of a troublemaker, in school, kind of.
Well, you led me right into my next question. How was school for you, and did you do sports, band, in anything of that nature?
No, I was working a full-time job by the time I was 13. So I worked at a grocery store over on Greenwood and First. And I'd get out of school, then I'd go to work. I'd ride my bike to open pantry. 4 o'clock was my shift, 4 to 11. I'd ride my bike back home. And I don't know. I was just focused on girls and working.
I have to ask this. So you had 5 siblings, grew up in Vandercook, right? It sounds like your dad worked a lot. Was there a need for you to work so young, or you just wanted to get out there?
We were a poor family.
Okay.
From the time I was 12 on, my parents never bought any clothing for me. I took care of it all. And in my whole life growing up, we never went to a restaurant. Never. My grandparents brought McDonald's one time, and I remember it well.
Well, probably a lot of mouths to feed back then, too. Yeah. 5 mouths is a lot to feed. Yeah. No matter how much you make at any point in life, that's still a lot of mouths to
care of. And decisions. People make bad decisions sometimes.
Yep. Were you popular? Like in the eyes of the what normal high schoolers think?
So I'd say no. I was, I guess I find out later, they say that I was, but gosh, I was kind of taken, from the time I was in seventh grade, girlfriends were 16, 17, and I was taken. So I didn't really, heck, I was going to bars by the time I was 16.
Yeah. Well, I guess there's no point to care about a popularity contest when you're already with an older woman or something like that. There's no point. Yeah. What was your favorite thing about school?
I tell you, I was so thankful, and I wasn't even a believer, but I thank God every single day for the year, every single day that it was over. So, but I have spent my life in education. It's my favorite thing to do. I've studied and taken classes, and but I hated it.
How would you say school, like your school experience, is different from then, like, say, what your kids have experienced in school?
Expectation. So my parents, and I no disrespect, but when we got a really bad report card, I knew I was going to get chewed on, smacked maybe for an hour, and it was over. And so expectation. So my children, I expected them to be successful, and there wasn't an option.
Right.
In my family, I believe I was only the second person, probably out of hundreds that graduated.
Wow.
So education was not. I remember one time, 7th, 8th grade, they asked me to read in English, and I did. And the teacher in front of everybody said, "Why? I've got a trip that can read. I'll be done."
I know I speak very highly of you all the time, but I know education is a huge thing for you because you even distilled in me, continued education.
There's nothing more important.
Yep,
absolutely.
Really look at. So you said your favorite subject was history. What was your favorite thing learning about? World War II, World War I?
American history. I'm very passionate. If you don't know your past, you're destined to repeat it. And I don't know. It's just American history mostly, but yes, I've spent hundreds and hundreds of hours studying World War I, World War II.
That it makes a lot of sense.
Thousands of hours.
It makes sense why you want to do the Civil War muster in Jackson, because your love for it's starting to come together for me now, boss. But why you did certain things you did. Did you graduate?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Yep. 1978.
Would you say you had a? Sorry, what?
That the year that the big blizzard happened?
It was 77.
Okay.
It was.
I've heard a lot about it.
It was cool.
Would you say you had a normal experience in terms of dances, proms, going to football games?
Never went to a prom ever. No, I did go to 5th, 6th grade dances, maybe 7th. But no, I went from a child to an adult. My friends were all seniors or graduated.
Okay. Gotcha. Is there anything that I missed of this period in your time, or any story that you would like to share?
I had a good childhood. I remember things. My father was a good man. My mother was a good woman.
Awesome. That's good. I enjoy speaking with you like this and learning more about you. But you really are. I'll probably say 1,000 times, but I couldn't say it enough that you are a great man. You helped me. So, after graduation, did you go directly to? Because I know your story as you went to Mako. But what was in between graduation?
Oh no, I worked almost 2 years in the body shop before I graduated.
Oh
no, I was 15 years old mowing the lawn at a place, Dempsey's Body Shop in Michigan Center. And one day they said, "Come on in and help." My good buddy was a body man there. And so I worked at Dempsey's, and then Mako came in 77, and I started in the summer. And I told them it was getting late August. I said, "Hey, I got to go back to school." And they said, "Well, what college you go to?" I said, "No, I'm in high school." And so by that time, I actually had enough credits to graduate, except I had to take some requirements. So the school would let me leave at 11:30, and then I would start at Mako at noon and work till 10 or 11.
Mhm.
But I went from a prepper to a painter, in just a matter of 6 months.
Did they have career center back then?
They did. And so the owner of Mako actually had, he was able to give me, I mean, they connected up with Career Center and they gave me grades for, me working.
Awesome. Yeah, I did this.
And I was married. I mean, I was a senior in high school. I was married.
You're married in high school?
Yeah.
How was that? Like interacting with your peers?
I was grown up at a young age, so it didn't really click with me.
Right.
I'd messed around, never had an alcohol problem, but I was done drinking by the time I was 17. It's like, I'm kind of bored with it now.
Yeah.
I wish I would have got it at 17. What made you decide to get into the body shop world?
I just accidentally did, and it was no intentionals whatsoever.
Good.
I worked hard. I had a talent for it, and my willpower to succeed. I used to play around, but I would always say my will is stronger than anybody else's. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna be successful.
You still say that? Yeah, fair. That's awesome. How old were you when you started at Mako? Like officially?
I might have been 16 or 17.
Understood. So you said 6 months from prepper taper to becoming a painter. What was your favorite thing about painting cars?
Well, I ended up being pretty good at it, but it started, the painter had a girlfriend, and he wanted to talk to her, and I would on my own time stay after work. And so in the summertime, and he show me what to do, and you can go out in the parking lot with your girlfriend. So he taught me how to mix paint and how to primer, and then once I started painting, it was my job. I was 17, late December of 77. I was the painter at Mako.
Awesome. That's awesome.
How was the paint different? Because I know there used to be like.
Oh man. Well, we used synthetic paints, called Western paint, and it's probably still around. But I used the owner of Mako let me use Centauri, which was high quality at the time. But there was a thing called lacquer, and enamels or synthetic enamels, and there were different breeds of cat, but you didn't get to mess up. Your final coats in a metallic or silvers, whatever, what you had in the paint job would be the paint job. You couldn't polish it out. You could put shine, but if you burnt through the metallic, it'd be like stripes. So, now you put clear over the top of it, and if there's imperfections in the clear, you can sand them out. But it was fun. I had a lot. I mean, we painted, well, in 1982, we were the #1 Mako in the Midwest, and we averaged 55 completes a week.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know how much I used to paint.
Yeah, that's
insane.
insane.
Yeah.
Well, and so, there was Earl Scheibs and different things, but we weren't collision repair. But for the money, we did a very nice job. But we'd tape up all the trim, and, they didn't remove everything back then. Even the emblems got masked off, and but for $200 to $300, you'd get a nice paint job.
Yeah, and an enamel, I've only sprayed it a couple of times, but he's absolutely right. If you mess up that metallic, you're redoing the whole dang thing.
Well, it's like
there's no fixing
lacquer. The lacquer stuff is kind of like nail polish. You screw on nail polish, you cannot.
And lacquer's brittle, and it would crack, and if it was humid, you couldn't spray it. I mean, you had to know it. There was lots to learn.
So you kind of already touched on one of my questions was, how did you prepare a car for paint? So you sanded, and you said you tape off almost everything, but was there any cleaners or anything to wipe down the car back?
Oh yeah, we'd wax and grease remover.
Okay, so pretty much it's the same process as you distilled in dust. Understood. How did you handle dust and other contaminants?
So most all the time, dirt in the paint job is coming from the car or your equipment or yourself
Yes, sir.
on your body.
Okay.
So I would eliminate the variables. Kind of a game, but I had a list of things that I would eliminate, and I was determined. Even the end of your hose can destroy
Sir.
100 paint jobs. It has to be clean.
Yes, sir.
Did that routine like carry into your personal life?
I was a neat freak, and having 6 kids, and big family, I kind of backed off it a little bit. But yeah, I was a neat freak. I like things clean.
So you were the manager, estimator, and painter all at one time. How did you juggle all 3 of those roles?
Well, it progressed. In the beginning, I was the painter and the shop manager. It was a little bit of tough because some of the guys that were 35, 40 years old, and you got this 20-year-old kid. But I tried to be fair and work with them, and I actually had to let a couple of them go because they didn't want to take orders, but I meant them no harm, and I wanted them just to prosper, and and we did, but sometimes I had to let people go.
It's too bad. But it does. It happened that not everybody grows with you. I found that out.
Yeah.
How long did you work at Mako, and why did you leave?
9 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I kind of left 4 years earlier, and maybe a little bit sooner, but the day that I got the official title as the general manager was the day I decided to leave. I got a huge raise. Like in today's dollars, early 20s, it'd be like making $80,000 a year.
Oh, that's good money.
But the guy that was there before me, who wasn't doing a very good job, was making another 10,000 more than me. And so that day, I decided I'm probably going to have to do this for myself, because the fair thing would be to pay somebody what they're worth. Now, I'm not mad. I was so thankful for the opportunity, but yet in my mind, I thought I'm going to have to do it for myself.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do this for me, because working for somebody else, it's nice, but that's not what I wanted to do.
One of my favorite stories of in this time, would you care to tell the story of you guys winning a trip for being the best Mako or quickest taper? I don't quite remember the story.
No, we were the number 1 Mako. I actually won a few trips, and it was that the owner, Hank Weber, and I'm sure he's still alive, but he gave me so much credit. He was a good man. People would come in and say, "I want to see the owner," and he'd say, "No, you want to see Phil." But he let me do things the way I wanted to, as long as I produced. And I didn't even know that we had won. And he didn't take a trip to Puerto Rico. He had sent me, and there is when I found out that we had won. And so they called up, but it was cool. Then I won a couple other trips. And
the one I'm specifically thinking of, and the reason I'm going to re-ask, there was a woman taper back in the day that apparently was quicker than you.
Yeah.
And I had to ask.
Well, yeah, she had skinny arms, and she could put the tape right on her arms. It'd take me about 30 minutes to tape up. We'd call a deuce and a quarter, a Buick 225. But this gal could do it 5 minutes quicker than me. She had the tape on her arms, and she just flip it out and whatever. So we were always competing against people nationally. They had contests that were a lot of fun.
Awesome. Yeah, they're going to say healthy competition makes you better.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
Do they still hold contests like that?
Not to my knowledge. I think it was, just because I run my mouth so much, saying I was so much better than everybody else at tape, and, people would challenge me, and be up, this girl beat me.
Well, 1 out of a lot of people, not that bad number. After Mako, is that when you decided to start trips, or what was in between?
No, I actually I was at a convention. Again, the owner sent me and paid for all these trips all the time for me. I was at a convention in Las Vegas, and a paint company. Can-Am. So Can-Am.
Yeah.
Okay. So the owners of Can-Am, they had a paint system, and I sold a couple of them at this convention because I would hang out and I used it and I liked it. But anyways, long story, it was the only two they had sold, was the ones I sold. They wanted me to come to work for them, and but I'd have to go to Australia for a month, and I had little kids, and anyways, I said, why don't we start a body shop? So quality first. I started on Airline Drive. I was 25, and gosh, I thought I was 50% owner. I wasn't. I was 30% owner, which meant almost nothing. And so push comes to shove. I said, it's yours, you go ahead. And so when I was going to say 28, that's when I started Trips.
Okay. I'm gonna ask. So 30% doesn't mean much. So is that why you people want 51%? So they are
51% controls all. You know, and you know, they were in a different kind of business, and they wanted me to do things that I didn't agree with. And
Gotcha.
either way, they owned it more than I did, and so they're the boss.
Gotcha. I'm just curious because you're so good with numbers, and so I was curious. About
Wasn't
that.
necessarily then,
So,
but
do you have something?
Yeah. How was being very young, like trying to be in a business like that? Like, how was the process of you figuring out that you were only 30%? Like, did it take you a minute, or?
When we had an issue with a process that they wanted to go, and I said no. And they said, well, it doesn't matter if you say no, because we say yes. And they had 51% voting stock. I had 49. Physical ownership, I had 33%. They
Understood. So you probably had 3 owners, but they had more of the votes.
those two guys voted together because they owned Can-Am. They knew, they're big boys. I mean, I didn't know anything.
Gotcha. So they had the upper hand from the get-go.
Yeah. But it was good.
Yeah.
So
well, definitely started you off on something successful.
Right, you took that knowledge and then were like, okay, I'm gonna go this way.
Don't do that again.
Yeah.
Sometimes, I've learned this too. Failing is the best teacher, and that's not even a fail, but finding out the hard way is the best teacher sometimes. Did you always know you were going to be rich?
Well, my number one priority, I guess, I want to be a millionaire by the time I was 30. And when I was 30, I was bankrupt, being sued for $500,000. And my old company was suing me for opening up a business. But we won the lawsuit. They went out of business. We started, kept on going with Trips. But, Trips was open. And I put it under Phil Tripp, which is my dad's Phil Tripp. So it was technically, I put it in his name. Me. Yeah.
You've always been very smart. I can tell. What was your biggest challenge the first year in starting Trips? And I'm going to ask this, where did Trips start at?
It was over on Francis Street next to Krupa's. We were in a 2-bay garage. My wife Barb and I would, she would help me tape the cars. She'd help me mix the paint. Biggest challenge is I made $13,000 that year with 5 kids at that time. And I'd been offered a new truck and $75,000 from a dealership in town. And I'd reach for that phone, pick it up, set it back down. But I always had goals, like in my desk, in my right-hand side, I'd pull that out, and I had a sheet of paper like that. It said what I was going to do. And, I was a big Tony Robbins freak. I studied him hard, and really what you focus, Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. Yeah. And it's not about money, but that's what business is, and that's how you're measured, is money. But money is not everything, but it certainly doesn't hurt.
So it was a mindset thing, and it was about getting yourself into the right mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So we, we made $13,000. We got a Radio Shack gift card, and credit card. That year was the only Christmas my kids would have, and they were crappy, but my kids were so thankful for what they got. It was kind of cool.
I always loved hearing that story because when I came back to work for you and you opened up the Lansing shop, you were barber taping, and I always thought, how does she know how to tape? Well, now I know.
Fun
It makes sense. Yep. How did you handle funding in the early days?
I borrowed $3,000 from my mom, compressor, but I wasn't afraid to ask you for business. I mean, I'd go to a company and dealership or whatever, and tell them, give me 5 cars, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You don't like them, don't pay me. But I had a reputation of doing a good job, so I had a lot of help in town.
I've always, in this aspect, I'm not making fun of Donald Trump by any means, but here again, I got a small loan of $1 million. I've always thought of that with you. I got a small loan of 3,000, and then look what you got with it. Like, that is crazy.
Well, and then I'm trying to think what year, but probably the second year in, I had an uncle from California that was a tree cutter. Now, in late 80s, he sold his company for $8 million. So when I tell you tree cutter, he had a heck of a business in San Diego, California.
Mm-hmm.
He did television shows, everything, but he was dying, and he drove his motorhome up with my aunt and spent a week, and we had time to talk about business. And at one point he said, Phil, what would make a difference?
Mm-hmm.
And so my aunt and uncle lent Barb and I $50,000, and that propelled us,
Awesome.
and just that thing happening, changed our lives.
Awesome. That's very, yep, that answered my question. That's, it's just cool to see how the conversation's going, because my next note was just someone to help you along the way, because I do remember some of your stories. So, what was the turning point for Trips? Like, so you're in a 2-car garage. What happened to make you move to West Michigan?
Well, success. So we were on Francis Street, and we'd built on a bunch of buildings, and you figure it's late 90s, but we were doing $2 million a year in sales out of those garages, but it looked like we could close up over the weekend.
Okay.
I mean, image and what people see of you, and I always thought about a big box. So there was room in Jackson for a big box body shop, like a Lowe's, all those things were starting to come in town.
I see.
So I wanted to be the big box before anybody else got there.
Mm-hmm.
So we were very successful in that 2-bay garage, but it looked like we could go out of business. So we got the location on Michigan Avenue and started the big box store. Our sales almost doubled in a couple of years.
How old were you at that point?
I was 31.
So just a couple years from the time you opened, you
Yes.
guys moved. That's fantastic.
Yep, and if my time frame's right here, just 1 year before you were being sued for $500,000, and then a year later, you're doing pretty.
You know what?
Pretty good.
And I got gotta make sure I'm right. When we moved to I'm sorry, I was almost 40 when we moved.
Understood.
I apologize. I got my dates wrong.
Yep. Hey, but still,
So we were 10, 12 years on
Okay.
Francis Street.
and you formed a lot of good relationships there, though.
Oh, tons.
I mean, I knew a lot of the guys that worked for you then.
Yeah.
Still works for you 30 years later.
Yeah.
So, how has your business changed over the years?
Technology.
Okay.
So accidentally, as things were changing rapidly and technology, I thought that I would be the person that would embrace it first. So as it got harder to repair a car properly, as it was more expensive, as you had to have the equipment, I thought every time it got harder, it was better for me because I'd already decided we were going to do it.
Mhm.
So I thought, and I'm messing around, but I would say to myself, who's your competition? Me. So I look in the mirror. If I didn't do right by you, if I didn't keep you as a customer, it's me.
Yeah.
So I said, I am the competition. So catch up if you can.
And I'm sorry if I'm skipping stuff
No, no.
in your story because I feel like we went to this too quickly. But your story of success to me is all is this part. I mean, you're a successful guy. So.
Well, you know, so way back when, and I would try to impress upon people, success is the journey. Oh my gosh, because people could wish their lives away.
Yeah.
But success is the journey. So I read one book ever in high school, you know, and then I've only studied businesses. So I've studied some of the finest businesses, you know, and it sounds kind of shallow, but I've never read a romance novel, never anything. It's all, you know, from Henry Ford to Carnegie Steel to, you know, I just studied them and how they do that, or Yum Foods or Taco Bell, or, you know, a manufacturer, you know, during the wars. I'm always studying processes and bottlenecks and, you know.
Well, you definitely knew how not to have a bottleneck in the paint department.
Yeah.
So I could tell you.
We're blessed.
Yeah. We work. Sorry. Most successful marketing strategy to you that you used or the most successful that you can think of?
So, gosh, it's like that old adage, gosh, if I, you know, 50% of my marketing works, if I only knew which 50%. So, so I wanted to position myself to be the person to ask. So if you had a question, you had a problem, ask me. If I could fix it, I will. Even if you had a problem that had nothing to do with us, if we could fix it in a half hour or less, we'd do it. So marketing was, the average body shop in America would spend maybe $10,000 a year in marketing. 10, 20, 30 times that as we got bigger. We started with just Little League baseball teams, but as we got bigger, you don't give to get, but if you don't give out of the heart, you will not get, you know, so I don't even know what that meant, but.
Well, in some of this, I'm trying to pick your brain because I've learned a lot from you, and I will make this more successful by picking people's brains that come on the show. So,
Sure.
Yep.
Me too. I always was interested.
Yes, sir.
I traveled the country from for 30 years. I would go to at least 2 body shops a year somewhere in the country and learn what they were doing.
Yeah, at least yeah, awesome. How did you build your team? So how did you build your team, and why do you like helping less fortunate people so much? I'm going to throw names out in the terms of me, Adam, some of these people that you helped along the years. I'm just curious.
No, they helped me.
Okay.
You know, I see in people's success, and you know, I believe what I'm supposed to do is encourage people. But now I got to tell you that for a large portion of my business, brute force. So I was a dictator. If I want your opinion, I'll ask it. What an asshole! But I'm not joking. So forever, it was just this way, and that's it. You know. And then I realized, kind of, you get a lot more with love. And I didn't change because of business, but when I changed, and it just so happened to be that I became a born-again Christian. Even in lifting weights, I was a power lifter at one time. You know, at one time I would think of things, you know, that make me mad to lift weights, and I made a lot of progress. But when I lifted out of love, it changed everything.
Awesome, boss. Any advice you would give someone starting a business today?
Yes, it's not as. There are many, many people that could do very well, but they're afraid. They don't know what to do. Well, you got to ask people. So I'm getting a DBA, or, you know, the stuff is not that hard, but you got to study, because a lot of people don't have a clue whether what they are selling or what they want to do could be successful. Just because you have a passion for it doesn't mean you're going to make money. And so I study businesses. So even though it's always a challenge, I try to eliminate the variables. So when I go into a market, I know the market. I mean, I have people study it, and I get information on it, and I know if there's a loophole there for me.
I don't think you've said this, but I'm still going to ask if it's true. People don't buy the good or service; people buy you. Would you agree or disagree with that statement?
I think, in as much as things have changed, with technology, it's always about relationships until it's not, and then when it's not, it's about relationships. It's always about relationships, always.
Sir.
So do the right thing, and can we help somebody today? So that was for years, that was my thing. I would tell my staff, can we help somebody today?
Sir. Yeah. Is there anything you wish you would have done differently?
Oh gosh, there's tons of stuff but I don't spend a lot of time in regret, Bill. Again, I can be a very unreasonable person, but entrepreneurs are unreasonable person. I mean, let's check out Donald Trump, or any of those guys. But yet, they're focused, and so I don't know, differently. Everything worked beyond my wildest dreams.
I kind of assumed that would be your answer, but I still wanted to ask. I know you don't sit too much. You don't get nothing from sitting there. No. Yeah. What are you most proud of out of everything you've done? What are you most proud of?
Well, it's the people, relationships, family and friends, and relationships. That's the only thing I can really think of,
Understood. And there's some things I didn't write down before I go on to the next part. But I want to ask. So you were the manager at Tripp for quite some time. When did that change? When you stepped away and became just really the boss?
I was always the boss.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So the difference was I was a working owner.
Yes, sir.
So for 20 some years, I had no desk. I was on the floor. So I knew what was going on. If I had to step in and do it, I would. But then in order for us to go to the next level, when I was painting cars, I had to stop painting cars. Well, people thought there's no way he'll ever let anybody paint for him. But I had to do that to go to the next level. Then in order to go from success to opening up, different locations, and the resale stores, some during that time also, I had to step out and let them fly.
I wouldn't say. I know fear wouldn't be the right word, but were you ever worried letting somebody else do a job that you were so good at?
Oh yeah, fear. So I'm gonna bet that fear has a lot to do with things, but refuse to accept it. And so, an entrepreneur, a successful business person, they have plan A, they have plan B, they have plan C. So, even like in the big boom or drop in the housing market blew up, it almost took us down. Things changed, but yet I had plan B or C or whatever. We were going to go again no matter what.
So with plan A, B, and C, how did COVID affect you?
Those were the greatest of times, and those were the worst of times. Heard a lot of people. We were essential, and we were writing 70 to 100 estimates a week, and we dropped to 5. But we did well. It was good.
That's one thing I love about you. As far as I know, you didn't have to lay anybody off, but you kept them busy, and that's one thing I always loved of you as a boss. I've always appreciated that.
I tried to be honest with people too. We were nervous. I don't know if you remember. I got everybody together, and they said to keep everybody working, but then it got tough. And it's like, shit, can I keep on doing this? But we did it.
Yes, sir. Yeah, you kept everybody very busy still. And one thing, so not only did you find success in your journey in the body shop world with the 3 Tripp locations, you also found success in the real estate world. How But
And I don't know about, I mean, it's just sloppy, you know, I mean, actually, my uncle passed away just months after they had lent us 50,000, and I was paying my aunt. She was in San Diego, and one time we got a loan to buy our paint booth, and part of that I had to pay her off. So I sent her 25,000 I owe her, and she sent it back. Said, just make payments when you can. Cool. So with that 25,000, we bought a house.
cool.
And you know, a couple of years later, we had 4 or 5 houses.
Well, I should have inserted my foot first because I definitely skipped over something. How was opening the other 2 locations and expanding your brand in terms of how were you emotional? Just how was it? in general?
So the emotional part of it is maybe I kind of go into a zone that this is happening no matter what. So we bought that first body shop on Northeast Street in 2020, just as COVID was coming down. And they had been 9 years there, but we just pushed hard, and we quadrupled the business in the first year. And then the East Lansing store, I don't think everybody was on board with me on it, but it was the crown jewel, and even now that location is amazing. And so again, it comes back to me being stubborn. I see something, I just see things.
Yes, sir. Was it difficult managing the 3 separate locations?
Yeah, I'd say so. So when I did my first location in 2010, it was so difficult that I finally told my son and, Joe, who's like my son, you guys won't listen to what I say. You do not follow my orders. I'll give it to you for what I have into it.
Wow.
And you guys think you know better, go ahead.
Fair enough.
So I got out of it, and then I educated myself how to be a multi-shop owner. So I wasn't prepared my first round, even though we did well.
Yeah.
It was a success right off the bat. But I don't like stagnant. Even if it's success, I don't like it. I wanted to do better.
Always forward progression.
Yeah.
Awesome. How did you deal with the weight and financial burden of all 3 of them?
Again, it's me talking to myself, but I got this. So I got it. So I just refused. I wrote a plan for what the business would do, and I was just blessed it did it. Even my banker said, well, your business plan doesn't work. I'm not going to be able to use it. I said, well, why is that? Oh, because you're saying you're going to make money right off the bat in the body shop business. And, everybody takes a couple of years to get started. And I said, well, you do your business plan, I'll do mine. And I was right.
Was your goal always to have it be a family business, or did you integrate that later?
No, it was always family. I mean, but, again, that word, family, I was a dictator, and I don't mean that bad, but it's like, I spend my life studying this, and didn't necessarily go for everybody's opinion. Give me your advice. You're an advisor to me, but don't make a mistake. At the end of the day, I will decide.
Sure.
And I would. But we had some, setbacks. My son got in a car accident that most anybody else would be dead. And, we went a route of trying to hire a general manager, but all these bad things ended up being good things,
Before I get into my next couple sets of questions, I wanted to touch base about, I think it's so neat that you used to do the Civil War muster. What's the balloon thing?
Yeah.
The Hot Air Jubilee.
The Hot Air Jubilee. I know some of that was to give back, and I know some of it was to advertise.
Well,
how did you get into that?
We put a number, even during COVID when we couldn't afford it, but we didn't change the budget. So in my budget, 5% of our gross sales would go for donations and marketing. And whether we were making money or not, we did it. And I just was very blessed, and I wanted to share it with the community. I mean, it wasn't a matter of if we should, or I mean, it was just something my wife and I decided from the word go to do it. So we didn't have a choice. It was part of the budget.
Awesome. Yeah, you're I don't know if before geez, no, I'm stuck.
Oh, you're great.
Thank you. I just don't know. Recently, you let go of the Trips business,
Yes.
and you're no longer my boss. I still call you boss.
No, I appreciate that.
But was that an easy decision to make for you?
So it wasn't at all like I would tell people I'm buying, not selling. We went to a big to-do in Vegas where some of the best body shops in the world were at a symposium, and they were waiting for us like they're headhunters. And, this company who's most successful, Focus Advisors, they asked, could we represent you, and you get probably some idea because you knew that we spent months and months and months compiling information. But that was I tried to teach other body shops around the world and the country on how to get the proper information so you know your business. So we were more prepared than somebody else. Lots, because we knew our numbers. And if you know your numbers, you can move them. And so we got them all done, and we had 5 offers. I had wrote on a piece of paper when I found out that somebody wanted to market us and some numbers, and I didn't think I would hit those numbers, but they far exceeded. So it was like once they said that, I couldn't not. And I don't want to say I was getting tired, but it was an opportunity of a lifetime. It was beyond crazy. So.
Hey, no, I understand. I know some of I totally get it. You made a really good call there. And just living through it, I have to be careful what I say on this, but just living through it, you clearly know what you were doing compared to others. So
well, I don't know. I try to teach people how to be prepared. Even now, I would help people. I can't in a 150-mile radius do anything with body shops, but I'm involved with some other businesses, not that I own, but I just try to encourage them, and help them out if I can.
yes, sir. Well, you doing this is helping me out, which I know that's not what you're talking about, but this is still helping. But I did want to touch a little bit because I know it's not your main money maker, but I know you have fun with this. So, what was the first house you flipped?
It was on McDivitt, maybe McDivitt and 2nd Street.
Yeah.
I think we bought it for $22,000, and we put $3,000 because I had 25, and gosh, we sold it in a week.
Okay.
And now it isn't about numbers, but just kind of comparing. But that 25,000 was 200,000 2 years later. So just fix a house and and give people value and sell it. And then there was a time I didn't do it because I had a hard time getting quality workers.
One of my questions was, did you ever do the house flipping simply to help us at the shop? That was a question I wanted to ask.
Well,
for me.
during COVID, it helped both of us.
Yes,
I wanted everybody to stay busy because you get fat and lazy.
Yeah.
And that was my biggest fear. That's why I pushed.
Some of us got lazy, not fat, but
Yeah.
lazy. I guess just a couple more about the house thing. Where do you find these properties? Because you have some really nice properties.
And they're hard to get because there's so many people in this arena. I mean, I don't even get my, in body shop business, I would try to take my unfair share. So, if somebody said, well, you can expect this in the market, I want more. No, in the housing, there's been times when somebody was going to lose their house, they were going to get nothing, they had to be out next week. Well, gosh, I was able to come in and give a couple that was getting divorced $10,000, and I took over the bank, and they were happy because they were going to have nothing. I've done that where somebody was going to lose a house. We we pay them some money. I've done it half a dozen times, but even recently, as yesterday, we bought a house at auction. So people bidding on it, and we just bought it.
You know, and this just came to my head. Has your generosity ever financially impacted you in a bad way?
Well, I don't know about generosity. Because I don't. At one time, my accountant said to me, "You're giving away money you don't have," and that's when I tried to learn about the numbers. I don't regret it because I had a number that I committed to people, and even when we didn't have it, we did it. But whatever, certainly isn't a sad story. It's a great story.
Yeah. No, I was always curious about that because I know how giving you are, and I never thought you gave more than you had. Anyways, I'm just curious.
I wouldn't have been able to if we didn't share. We wouldn't have had anything.
Doesn't God say what he gives back tenfold or something like that?
Yeah, I'm blessed.
Yes, sir.
But you gotta do things for the right reasons.
Yes, sir. How do you manage the renovation process when you do renovate a house? Do you trust somebody to do it for you? Mentality kick in?
Most of the time when I tried that, it didn't work very well. I was the general manager, or I would micromanage the thing. I've got a really good guy working for me right now that handles it.
This is my favorite, because I know your answer. How long does it typically take you to redo a house and sell it?
Well, I'd had one that goes over a year.
Yeah.
And we built houses. We built one house in 2 months.
Yeah.
6 to 8 weeks.
Understood. I just like that because I know one we dragged out, and then I've seen other houses you do it's sold in 6 months.
Well, I feel
it's crazy.
I feel like building a house is a little bit easier than like getting one and trying to keep it structurally there and then doing all the work on it.
Yeah, we got into one on Parkway and Vandercook. We had to tear half the house down when we got into it and rebuild it. So it's like, but I've got myself in trouble,
Geez. This is questions that I think would be very, very good for you. And then we're getting close to the end, boss. But what was the biggest financial risk in your life that you took?
Interesting. Complacency is dangerous. Now, so I went through a period of time that we were very good, and but I decided to buy all new paint booths, put in parking lots, buy equipment that was too expensive to buy because I thought I had to. If I was going to be the leader, I had to be the leader.
Yes, sir.
So we spent a lot of money in technology that other shops didn't necessarily have to spend, and I've gotten myself in trouble, but I always get out of it. I come out smelling like a rose. I don't know how, but I always got out of it.
One another thing. So the point of this is to show the people that you can, be poor or whatever and make yourself into a millionaire or quit drinking. So that's the whole point of the show. One of my favorite stories that you have is your $1 million shirt. It's not actually $1 million.
No, I had heart problems, and at one time I had congestive heart failure. It lasted a long time, almost 5 years. And when I get better, I shaved off my mustache. I had a mustache forever.
I can't imagine you with facial hair.
But at the time, it was 2007, and gosh, I bought a shirt for $200 or $250, but I felt like $1 million in it. And I would pretend that if I took care of business and if I felt well, that I would be able to make more money. I even went to Dave Ramsey, and I think he's great about 100 of his books, but I thought if I put myself on a budget, it would make me think that I couldn't do more. Mm-hmm. So even though I respect it and I think it's great and I want people to do it, I chose not to.
Yes, sir.
Because I tried to live a little out there sometimes.
Although still, it goes back to it worked for you.
Yeah, I'm thankful.
How did you overcome some setbacks or failures?
Pig-headed determination. Like, like you want to talk about an idiot, I wouldn't even allow it. Sometimes my staff would be telling me something negative or tell me that customer's an idiot and we're not going to be able to help them. We did everything we could. And I'd look them right in the eye and be shaking my head. No, because until you get me involved, we didn't do everything we could. And we are going to make them happy. I'll do everything I possibly can. And pig-headed determination is not popular sometimes.
Geez, what role did debt play in your wealth accumulation?
So over and over that I would pay off all my debt. Then I would go into crazy debt. Gosh, from here on out, we don't have to pay anybody. And I mean, I'm talking about tens of thousands of dollars a month payments, the East Lansing buy, was crazy, but I knew it was the right thing to do.
I just thought I'd ask that because a lot of richer people say that debt actually helps with wealth, like getting wealthier. So either like racking up a credit card, paying it all off, or anything of that nature.
The credit cards I would try to pay off, or I would pay them off every single month. But yeah, you had to. Gosh, so you have to buy seed to sow it. And money is not finite. People think money is finite, and it's like, oh my gosh, he's got a piece of that pie, now I can't have it. No, we'll make more pies. Make more pies. There's not a finite. It's not. So in business, money is a tool, and if you leave it locked in a closet, it gets moldy and stale. You gotta.
I learned that from Scrooge McDuck.
Come on.
I did.
Come on. It's one of my favorite. So I don't know, but the Ebenezer Scrooge. That's one of my favorite business stories of all time. Overnight, he got to be whoever he wanted to be. Like I quit smoking. I was a 3-pack a day cigarette smoker, and I quit cold turkey. And the power that made me feel was amazing. If I could quit smoking, I could do this.
Well, the power that takes is insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's hard. I quit for years. 10 years, and I quit smoking mine. I smoke yours. I know how it works.
Yeah. How do you identify and capitalize on opportunities?
So I try to be educated enough, or I do my homework. So people come to me with a business idea, and I don't mean anything bad, but they have no clue what they're talking about. They didn't, so how much money do you make off that widget? And who's making that widget? And so when I go into a market, or if I try to make a business decision, I get all the information I can about it, and gosh, I wish it was cut and dry, but at the time it was body shop business and production, and what could I do different than somebody else that was my expertise.
Mm-hmm.
But
well, they say Henry Ford created the weekend and he created the assembly line, and I think you really utilized the assembly line idea.
I studied them nonstop. McDonald's. Mm-hmm. The McDonald's brothers only ever had one McDonald's. It was Ray Kroc who made, it was Ray Kroc. He's the one who marketed it. But those guys, they did all the steps. It was choreographed. Mm-hmm. And in the collision repair business, we could do it a little better than most. Mm-hmm. And I would always try to learn how to do it better.
Yeah, and one thing you told me is there's a local burger joint in town. You have spoken about that. He's successful, and he thinks he's successful, and that's great. But you have the mind of like the person who made Wendy's, and he has the mind of just making the burger joint.
Yeah, what's the difference? What's the difference in how did they do that?
Yeah. And
even myself, when I was at the point where I sold, was I the right guy to go and be able to have 25, 50, 100 shops? Mm-hmm. wasn't quite sure. Nothing wrong with that. I just wasn't quite sure that I was the guy. I knew, I don't know. I have huge respect for business people. I love to study them.
What advice would you give aspiring entrepreneurs, not just people looking for business? Because I know I already asked a question like this, but I'm curious because like this, I try to fall into the category of an entrepreneur.
Well, my thought is educate yourself on your craft, be the best you can at your craft, and you got to be honest. And so, you guys make a better hamburger than McDonald's. I mean, tastes better, but yet they sell billions.
Yeah.
So it's the formula, consistency, and so when you have a business, depending on what you're going into, you got to be consistent. You can't have hours, that are, we closed early and things like that. You got to be accountable.
I still keep those paint lights on until 5 o'clock. That door is not locked. Then you distilled that.
Well, it's like being able to get the exact same thing at every location, be the exact same quality, not necessarily mass produced, but like you said, the consistency.
When you get there, you know what to expect. I'm sure it's some of it because I know, unfortunately, what I expect at McDonald's is they're going to get the order wrong every time. That's what I've come to expect.
Well, some of that happens, unfortunately, more. It's kind of an epidemic.
Yeah.
What compelling reason would it be to come to this business? Again, so you're thinking all the time of what do you have to offer somebody that they couldn't get somewhere else, and why would they come to you? So you ask those questions, serious questions, to make a difference.
What daily habits contributed to your success?
I love to sleep, and I hit my alarm over and over and over. When I started Trips, I also borrowed $129 from my mom to buy Tony Robbins' Personal Power. And I'm telling you, I listened to him 50 times over. Now, not that but there are triggers that you choose how to act, and when you can start to control some of those triggers. Through that, I started, I'm up at 6 o'clock or 7 at the latest every day, no matter what. And ever since I've retired, I haven't slept in, get up and go. I hit the shower and shave, and I'm dressed and ready to roll,
Interesting. Okay. What is the most valuable lesson that you've learned about money?
Gosh, I guess I'm still learning that. I don't know. People think bad of money. They really do. Well, I wonder who she slept with to get that, or I wonder who he screwed. No, you got to not talk bad about money. And you got to not think you can't have it, but you got to do something different. If you're working, maybe you can get some overtime. Hopefully they'll get rid of that tax on overtime, and you can make big money on it. And, accumulation, compound interest. So, oh my gosh. So $10,000 put into the stock market at 18 years old, you'd have millions. But if you wait till you're 30 and then put 10,000 a year for 35 years, the guy that put 10,000 in once at 18 makes more money by far. So compound interest. You've got to save. You got to pay yourself, but you've got to save.
What are your thoughts on manifestation?
Absolutely.
Speaking things into existence?
Come on. Listen. How many people do you know that just poor me, and everything goes bad? Well, whatever your story that you tell, you can have a different story at any time, but people would ask me, how's business, Phil? It's great. Now you can't just be, you absolutely do call it. Now, God's truths are God's truths no matter what. And who knows how things work, but I guarantee you, if you're that person that tries to encourage other people, and it's like, man, that was nice talking to them. I mean, some people that they suck the blood out of you. You got them in it, and then 40 minutes later, they're still bitching about somebody. It's like, shut the hell up. But yet, you got to love them people too, but don't let them, I call them energy vampires.
They are energy vampires.
Come on, but you choose to take it, you know.
Yeah.
Knock it off, you know.
Don't be careful where you pour your water. It's like cups. Like,
Well,
be
some
careful where
people
you pour
don't
your
even
energy.
pour their energy; they just exude this beautiful energy, and it will be extinguished
Yeah.
because.
Well, because they let them.
Mhm.
No. So, this is, I'm teasing, but my will's stronger. Come on, bring it on. You know, bring it on.
Well, that goes with the boundaries and the like coping with that energy. Like you know how it is, so you're not going to allow that to happen.
Well, exactly. His will's so strong. Yeah.
So, you know, I'm trying to think The Secret. Remember, you know, did you guys ever read The Secret or listen to The Secret?
I think you did.
I think I did, but I'm not quite positive. One
So-
of the books you told me to read, I'm sure.
Well, you know, all I'm saying is Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich.
Yes,
Yep.
yes, I do. Then, yes.
So the finest, you know, minds in the world are successful. They do the same things.
Mhm.
And I guarantee you, gossiping all day isn't one of them.
Yep.
Not saying that's not fun, because I enjoy that. But no.
And that's why I asked, what habits do you have? Because after reading those books that you told me to, and their mastermind circle, and all these things that they do, it works. I've started waking up at 4. I've started doing it works. You just have to do it. I mean, it really works. What are your biggest priorities now? Now that you've sold and I don't want to say retired, but you know.
Well, still wondering, you know, I have passion for business. Whether I'll go into another business, I don't know yet. I have passion to help other people in business, but we'll see.
Just a few little small things before we wrap up. I forgot to ask any questions about it. What's the favorite animal you shot, and where did you shoot it? Because I know you're an avid hunter.
Hunting? Oh no, just deer hunting. I mean, you know, I went on a hunt this last fall to a ranch that was, you know, had some of the largest deer in the world. That was a blast. But probably, you know, I don't know. I just I like to hunt, and I like donating the meat, you know, to people. And I'm not necessarily a big hunter, but I'm going to Africa here in a month.
Cool.
So
Cool. See, that's what I'm curious about, because I've seen a boar, so I just wanted, you know, I see
Yeah.
some of yours. So
Ted Nugent's place, yeah,
no kidding.
yeah.
He was my neighbor in Concord for the longest time.
Yeah.
I shot a wild boar in Vandercook up by Steak's Eatery with a crossbow, or no, with a regular bow. He had got out and he was tearing up people's gardens, and the DNR said I could shoot it. So, you know, I've got a few boars.
Also an avid fisher before we wrap up.
Love to.
Yeah. What do they call them? Charters. You ever been on? What was your favorite charter?
Oh yeah, we've done charters. Salmon. You know, I used to take my dad and the kids, or different ones, up to Mackinac, and we would charter a boat. Same guy for 25 years, but I always had to drive the boat. So, you know, he was a one-man show, so he was helping catch the fish, and I drove the boat. But I had a blast, you know.
You ever do any ocean fishing?
I get seasick bad.
Yeah.
If I can't see the ocean, it's up Chuck City.
Dramamine, nothing helps.
Oh no.
And this is just me being nosy now. I know you've been to Mexico. Is there any other country that's your favorite to visit?
You know, I like them all, but I love the USA. I mean, I've been to, you know, Europe and different areas. And
then one other thing I want to ask before you ask your wrap-up questions. DOG or whatever, DOGE, Doge, with the Elon Musk thing, and him asking about how they have to update, you know, say what they got done at the end of the day. We have to do that every single day. Most companies have to do that. How do you feel about that?
My true feeling is I absolutely love it.
Yeah,
now,
definitely.
if all these yo-yos that go on TV were experts, they would be experts, wouldn't they?
Mm-hmm.
Now, this plan is a 5-year, 25-year, 100-year plan. We've been giving away our jobs, 9 million of them in the last 20 years, shipped them all overseas. You can't even produce things here. It was so hard.
Mm-hmm.
The Chinese don't give a crap. They dump shit in their rivers. They don't care. These products, aluminum and steel, should be made in the USA, where we'll do the cleanest manufacturing. And who who possibly, the theft. I mean, that one company with Stacey Abrams, they had $100 in 2023, and then they give her $2 billion, and they don't know where it's spent.
Yeah.
Who could argue? But we're in tough times. I'm an oxymoron. I'm a conservative. I don't like Republicans. I don't like Democrats. But I'm a conservative, and I'm a Trumpian. I love Donald Trump.
Well, you're just very intelligent in that aspect, and I bring it up because me and her were discussing it just slightly. I was like, I have to prove at the end of the day what I painted. Not prove, but this is what's done. Here's the list. It's
I've
like
always had to be accountable for writing every member.
that's all it is. We want
The world's lost their mind.
Yeah.
They've lost their mind.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we don't want to come to work. Great, get rid of them.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's going to be hard, and this is not easy. The country's divided, but the media is doing a disservice beyond disservice. They put his life, his children's life, and people's life is in danger. Because if you thought you had a chance to kill Hitler, if you really, that is so negligent, it's beyond crazy. The hatred, and we're going to make it through.
Yes, sir. Yeah. No, I totally agree, and that's why the media I'm trying to put out is, if you can do it, if me and you can do it, she can do it, everybody else can do it.
You can disagree and still be civil, or still be friends, have differing opinions.
Right. So, but if you say, that it's Hitler who killed millions and millions and millions of people, now that's serious business. And there are a lot of people that aren't necessarily stable. That, I mean, you see what's going on. It's grossly negligent, but we were born for a time like this. It's not going to be easy. I'm so thankful that the adults are back in the room.
In the one year that was going on, in 1 year in Nazi-occupied Germany, they guillotined more people than the French Revolution.
Come on. Not only that, the hatred when you would tag somebody in the Japanese, they thought that the Chinese didn't have souls. They killed millions, which, and I'm not saying that we didn't kill millions, during the fight, but it was intentional hatred. And you would tag somebody a Jew, and so we're sitting there. Hamas wants the Jews dead. No, we don't like it. We're just got a different opinion, and no, they want all Jews dead, and the infidel, which is us. Now, that's not a compromise. So there are countries in the Middle East that made peace with Israel, and all they do is acknowledge they have a right to live. That's what we're talking about. Do they have a right to live? But they are definitely doing some ass kicking, Israel. I mean, but I don't know. The world's crazy, but we don't. All I want to do is change my neighborhood, and
Yes, sir.
That's what our goal is,
Yep,
to change the air in Jackson.
Yep, and that's why I invited
a lot of
you.
good people in Jackson.
Yes, sir.
I love it.
A lot of famous people from here I didn't know, actually. I was looking into that.
So my wrap-up questions before hers. Is there anything I missed that you would like to share?
At one time, Tom Monahan owned Domino's Pizza. I was like 18 years old with the JCs, and he come and spoke, and actually I had dinner with him, and he inspired me greatly. He'd went out of business and bankrupt maybe 3 times. And when he sold his company for $2 billion, it'd be more like 10 billion in today's dollars. That's pretty impressive.
Oh, yeah. Domino's Farms is huge.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We drove by. Yeah, I showed her where Domino's Farms, like.
Exciting. So, like you ever watch those, the men that built or women that built America, or the stories of America's, restaurants. And, I love those. You can learn a lot. You want to learn about business? Check them things out.
I like how it's made. How it's made is cool.
Yeah. What is your definition of success?
The journey. I don't know, because success isn't necessarily financial. I don't know what, it's the journey.
Perfect. Okay, your wrap-up questions?
If there's one word that could describe your entire journey into success, what would it be?
Love.
Awesome. Well, this is the end of our show. Thank you guys for joining us. But before we go, I am presenting Mr. Tripp with a gift card to Miller's Shoes. They do repairs, is why I thought of you.
I know them. They're good folks out there.
So, wasting shoe leather, trying to find a quality shoe shop near you. Kick back and relax. Miller's Shoe Parlor is just around the corner. Our family-owned and operated store has been serving Jackson County and surrounding areas shoes need since 1913. We sell inside shoes for customers of all foot sizes and work with everyone from infants to adults. If you are sure what type of shoe would best suit your needs, talk to one of our knowledgeable sales representatives. We'll point you towards a pair of shoes that will fit comfortably and that you'll love. Call 517-783-1258 or come by Miller Shoe Parlor to check out their latest inventory. Here you go.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for coming on. Thank you guys for joining us.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much. All righty.